something very big is going to happen very soon. My assumption is that it is going to be attempts at decapitation strikes and then amphibious landings. And how do I think this is going to go? Not so great. I reject this fully, unconditionally, categorically. I reject this. This is not what Americans want or need right now. We need to focus on our issues. This is not what we need right now. Yesterday, President Trump came out and said, it's not true. We didn't send B-1 bombers off the coast of Venezuela. But actually, it was true. We have the flight radar to back it up. There's tons of flight radar information on that flight. Yes, they did send B-1 bombers off the coast of Venezuela, and yes, they did enter Venezuelan airspace, okay? This is well documented. There's no denying it, so I have to question, are people making military calls without Trump's approval, or what's going on here? The U.S. flew B-1 bombers near Venezuela on Thursday, stepping up pressure on President Nicolas Maduro only days after other American warplanes carried out an attack demonstration. Okay. We're all past the point believing that this is about like narco traffickers or something. We understand that they're just, for the most part, they're bombing fishermen, and maybe they targeted the submarine was probably narco. Probably. I mean, they blew up. Who has a submarine? That's probably narco. What nationality that the crew of that submarine were is unable to be identified. We'll add that. Would be Ecuadorian, for example, a U.S. ally that is responsible for most of the drug trafficking in Latin America nowadays. But anyways, most cases are strikes on fishermen from Colombia, from Venezuela, and from Trinidad and Tobago. Now, after Trump came out and said that we didn't send B-1 bombers, he, in effect, contradicted himself by saying this right here.
In by sea are like 5% of what they were a year ago, less than 5%. So now they're coming in by land, and even the land is concerned because I told them that's going to be next. You know, the land is going to be next, and we may go to the Senate, we may go to the Congress and tell them about it.
So pin two things down in this. One, he said land may be next, referring to presumably a land invasion or land strikes. I would imagine he's talking about strikes on Venezuelan territory, land strikes. Number two, he said we may go to the Senate, we may go to Congress to discuss this. Now, this is giving me flashbacks to Obama wants to start a war in Syria. He realizes it's very unpopular with the American public. And he says, oh, maybe we should take this to Congress and see what they think about it. And then he understands that even most of Congress is not going to approve an action such as this, a new war on Syria. Obviously, we know how that story ended. But, Trump is saying we may take it to Congress. Remember that. Remember that, because it's going to be important at the end of this story. So he's saying we may take this matter to Congress. Okay. Land strikes on Venezuela. Okay. I mean, it seems as though he's saying that it's going to be some time before we do something like this, before we do the land strikes on Venezuela. But yesterday we had B-1 bombers in Venezuelan airspace. Okay. At that same meeting, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth had this to say.
And then we're proud to be going on the offense. Counter-cartel operations. And it's not counter-cartel, as was mentioned. These are designated terrorist organizations, foreign terrorist organizations. Our generation spent the better part of 2 decades hunting Al-Qaeda, hunting ISIS. Well, as the president said, this is the ISIS, this is the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere. They intimidate, they terrorize, they extort, they poison the American people. The president's right. Every boat we strike is 25,000 Americans.
So you get the gist here. He's comparing narco traffickers to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. By the way, the president of Syria, former Al-Qaeda and ISIS leader that just shook hands with Trump, and we removed the 10 million bounty on his head. By the way, the U.S. armed and funded Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Syria and their affiliate groups. By the way, in this video, he says, we know everything that they're doing. We know where they're going. Clearly they don't, because they keep blowing up fishermen on accident. Maybe not on accident, I don't know. He said, we know where they originated from, these traffickers. That's clearly not true, because they blew up Colombian fishermen and fishermen from Trinidad and Tobago. The bodies of those fishermen from Trinidad and Tobago just washed up on shore a few hours ago in Trinidad and Tobago. As for the Colombians that survived the strikes, they were repatriated to Colombia because the U.S. really had nothing to prosecute them over because they're Colombian fishermen. We know what they're carrying. I don't think so. They're carrying fishing poles, with the exception of that submarine probably, which we don't even know what that submarine video could have been AI for all we know. This whole thing is just, it's a regime change war. They're trying to sell it to us by doing this, and no one's buying it. I think I read the stat on stream last night, like 63% of Americans a few weeks ago opposed intervention in Venezuela. I can only imagine that number is going to be going up and up and up as the threat of sending U.S. sons and daughters, American sons and daughters into Venezuela, which will lead to a protracted guerrilla war, the likes of which we haven't seen since Vietnam. I can't imagine Americans will become any more sympathetic to this idea as time goes on. But that's where we're at now. So Trump is saying, oh, well, we might go to Congress about this, because I think he sees that his poll numbers right now are not too high. And in addition to that, Venezuela is very united around Maduro. So you're talking about a war. It has to be a war. You're not going to be able to just buy off some generals. And that's going to be very costly in terms of equipment and human life for the Americans. And so he's talking about going to Congress to get approval because he sees that this is going to be an unpopular decision to make. Okay. But then today we have not a direct quote from Trump. We have a quote from administration sources who say that Trump will coordinate with Congress when Maduro's corpse is in U.S. custody. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. It sounds like something Trump might say. I don't know. Given the actions of the Trump administration right now and the stuff that Pete Hegseth is saying, it could very well be that that's something he said and something he means. Decapitation strikes. I think that's probably the best bet if the U.S. wants to create chaos in Venezuela and in Latin America without risking the most amount of American lives. Kim Ives has a very good breakdown of what's happening in Latin America. I want to read this for all of you. So he's talking about the 4 Caribbean nations who are being targeted right now in one way, shape, or form. And this has been a long-planned coordinated assault on Latin American sovereignty. He first brings up Haiti, right next to Cuba. The U.S. is converting and complementing its proxy multinational security support troops with 4,500 more soldiers, including its own, to make the gang suppression forces in Haiti, which will wage war against gangs, i.e. poor but armed Haitian neighborhoods, demanding revolution without answering to any Haitian authority. So the U.S. is upping essentially troop levels in Haiti to take out the pro-sovereigntist movement in Haiti. Venezuela, we don't even, we just talked about that. Colombia. An escalating war of words between President Gustavo Petro and the Trump administration may well escalate into military action or another regime change operation. We're going to talk about Colombia in a moment because sanctions were just implemented for the first time on Colombia. And as you probably know, Trump has already threatened to remove Colombian President Gustavo Petro from power. And number 4, the ultimate prize of every U.S. administration for 65 years. This nation remains the inspiration for all of Latin America and the world for its costly but successful resistance to U.S. imperialism's effort to destroy its revolution. Now, this is Cuba. It is a particular obsession of Secretary of State Marco Rubio, whose parents were Miami Cubans. None of these theaters of conflict are isolated. They're all intimately linked, and a U.S. attack against one is an assault against all. Now, I'll also add that Nicaragua, which you can see right here on the left side of the screen right there, Nicaragua is also being targeted with very costly sanctions. It is like the poorest nation, I believe, in Central America. And they're talking about 100% sanctions or tariffs, rather, on Nicaragua. So you've got Colombia, Venezuela, Haiti, Cuba, and Nicaragua all being targeted. These are all agents of resistance to U.S. imperialism in the region. And really, also, Brazil has been targeted with sanction war over the past few months. We've talked about that. Should I show you this video is so funny, actually. In the midst of it all, President Maduro decided it'd be a good idea to demand Trump not commit to war on Venezuela and not do decapitation strikes on him. I've never seen a video like this. But President Maduro, he was giving a speech yesterday. I thought this was AI at first. I'm like, is this even real? Is he memeing? Is he trolling? I don't know what's happening, but watch this.
Not war, not war, not war.
He's speaking English. Kinda.
Yes, peace, yes, peace, yes, peace, forever, forever, forever. Peace forever. No crazy war. No a la guerra loca. No crazy.
That's my favorite one. Not crazy. Not crazy. That should be our rallying call against U.S. war on Venezuela. Not crazy. Not crazy war.
No crazy war. No crazy war. Please, please, please. Yes, peace. Peace forever.
This goes on for a minute. Yes, peace. Peace forever.
Peace forever. Victory forever. Defeats.
I wish I was there. I really wish I was there. That'd be so fun. No, not war. Peace forever.
Victory forever. Defeats. Esto se llama
Oh, crazy gore.
lenguaje tarzaneado.
Oh, the people love Maduro, I swear. When he walks into the room, every time I've been in Venezuela, when he walks in the room, the people are just lit up. You see their faces. They're so happy. He comes in. When Maduro comes in, when Putin comes into the room, everyone's like, stand at attention, salute. When Maduro comes into the room, let me tell you how it goes, okay? When Maduro comes in, on the side of the stage, they've got a mariachi band. Well, I don't know if you call it a mariachi band in Venezuela, but in effect, they've got some like traditional Venezuelan music. It's like a mariachi band, basically. And they're playing this super vibe, like Venezuelan upbeat mariachi song and stuff. And he comes in and he's just dancing. He comes through the front row and he starts dancing with everyone. He starts hugging everyone. It's a vibe, and then within 30 minutes, it's not war.
En español tipo Tarzán sería no guerra, no guerra, no querer guerra, no a la guerra de los locos, no a la locura a la guerra. Esa sería la traducción, ¿verdad?
Sounds better in English. I think he should do more speeches in English, to be honest. Not war, yes peace. So anyways, I give all this information to you, but I've left out the most crucial detail of all, which is that about an hour ago, 2 hours ago now, we've been streaming for a minute. About 2 hours ago, the United States ordered the deployment of the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier near Venezuela. Now, what I'm about to show you is from an account that is like pro-NATO, pro-US, pro-Israel. And they are going to explain why this is not so great for Venezuela. The U.S. Department of Defense has announced that the USS Gerald Ford and her carrier strike group, consisting of blah, 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 several ships, has been redirected from the Mediterranean Sea to the U.S. Southern Command area of responsibility near Venezuela. So, aircraft carrier strike group, it has been redirected from Mediterranean off the coast of Venezuela to off the coast of Venezuela. The Ford will join the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, which, as you saw the videos of the U.S. Marine Corps doing amphibious landing exercises at the military base Camp Pendleton in San Diego County last week. We can assume what they're planning to do in Venezuela. And they're also going to be joining several other air and naval assets already deployed to southern Caribbean region and Puerto Rico. If there was any indication that the Trump administration is planning a much larger operation against Venezuela and Latin America, this is it. The Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group just entered the Mediterranean earlier this month. So it just got to the Mediterranean and they're saying, hold up, come back. We need you here. Get to Venezuela now. If they're being redirected all the way back across the Atlantic from Europe, there's a good reason for it. And it isn't just to strike a bunch of speedboats running drugs or the cartels. It's expensive to keep all of these troops deployed to Puerto Rico, to Trinidad, Tobago, all these aircraft carrier strike groups. I mean, this is tens of thousands of troops. This is not a cheap endeavor. And they can't just keep them there forever and not do anything. My assumption is that something very big is going to happen very soon. My assumption is that it is going to be decapitation strikes, attempts at decapitation strikes, and then amphibious landings. And how do I think this is going to go? Not so great for a whole number of reasons, which we've already touched on. I think this is going to go very poorly. I think this is going to be very costly to the U.S. I think it's going to be very bloody. I think there's going to be chaos in Venezuela for a very long time. And I don't think this is going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination to bring peace back to Venezuela once they open this can of worms. Worth noting that on my show, Legitimate Targets, which has been broadcast only on Twitter and Telegram for the past 12 months, I did an episode on December 31st of 2024, and it was my predictions for the coming year. In that video, I don't know what made me say it. I just had a certain vibe based on what Eric Prince was saying, close Trump, associate, former owner of Blackwater, now owner of a new iteration of Blackwater that has a different name, the private military contractor whose sister is Betsy DeVos, former Secretary of Education under Trump. I mean, this guy is as immersed in the Trump world as you can get, and he is fully aligned with the deep state. He was talking back then after Trump had won the election, but had yet to be inaugurated about, regime change in Iran, in Venezuela, decapitation strikes on Venezuela. I said in that video, my predictions for 2025 was that they are going to try and attempt regime change in Venezuela. That's what I said back then, and it looks like we are now being proven right just 10 months later. Unfortunately, I don't like to be proven right about these things. I don't like to be correct about these things, but that's where we are. Venezuela is deploying more Russian and Iranian-made air defense systems day by day all across the country. They're deploying troops everywhere all across the country in preparation for what they know is going to come. I told you we were going to talk about Colombia. Colombia just was hit with some sanctions. Trump slapped sanctions on Colombia's President Petro, his son, and his wife. Okay, this is not too long after we saw Trump threaten regime change in Colombia. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said yesterday, I don't think we're seeing de-escalation from the unhinged leader of Colombia right now, and I don't think the president, frankly, is interested in that at this point. Okay. And also we have this, U.S. troops are now deploying to Trinidad and Tobago this weekend for a 5-day visit full of military exercises. And I think this is possibly one of the most damning bits of information, because a 5-day visit to Trinidad and Tobago, that smells very fishy to me. So let's all watch very closely over the next 5 days what happens in the Caribbean. Let's watch. I think we're about to see something. And I think this is a pretty clear indication we might see something, starting very soon, starting next week. The U.S. just blew up a boat of fishermen belonging, their citizenship was of Trinidad and Tobago. and their bodies wash up on shore in Trinidad and Tobago today. And now the U.S. is going to be deploying troops there for a 5-day visit, just for funsies. Okay. Pray for the people of Venezuela. This is not going to be good. And for Colombia and for Nicaragua, for Haiti, for Cuba, this is a targeting of anti-imperialist countries. This is a targeting of anti-Zionist countries. All these countries stand with Palestine, by the way, and have like trade embargoes with Israel. They don't have ambassadors for Israel. I mean, like it's so clear what's going on right now. And it's not going to end well. Okay, even if they somehow manage to do this all very quickly, very peacefully, regime change in these countries they're targeting, it's not going to be good for the people there, even in that scenario, because is life good for the Argentinians right now? Their currency is as good as toilet paper. This is supposed to be the hero of Trump and Elon Musk that was going to create some economic revolution through his ingenious libertarian ideology in Argentina. And the currency in Argentina, the Argentinian peso, is as good as toilet paper. They have mass inflation, the likes of which I can't even imagine living through. They sold off their gold bars to UK banksters. They sent them on British Airway jets to the UK. And the president is giving rock metal concerts as this is all going on, and he's dressing up like libertarian Batman wearing Halloween costumes. It's the weirdest thing ever, but that is just a clear indication that even if they did do this all peacefully, quickly, whatever, it's still not going to be good for the people there. So I reject this fully, unconditionally, categorically. I reject this. This is not what Americans want or need right now. We need to focus on our issues. We need the Epstein files released. We need the JFK files released. We need a new 9/11 commission. And this is, we need mass infrastructure. We need to focus on our housing crisis. We need to focus on rapid industrialization of our economy. This is not what we need right now.